Yo, what's going on, guys? Today I'm going to be giving you my review for The Walking Dead Season 11, Episode 2, which was titled Acheron Part 2. Still don't know if I'm pronouncing that correctly. If you want to see my reaction to the episode, that will be up probably within the next day or two. When it comes to this review, as I always do for these reviews, we're going to go to non-spoilers, and then we're going to jump into spoilers a little bit later on after we give an actual rating for the episode, so definitely tune in for all of that. When it comes to the non-spoiler section, we are going to be talking about spoilers for prior episodes, so episode 1, I will be spoiling that, so if you haven't even seen episode 1 yet, probably shouldn't watch this video at all. So, let's hop into it. Did I like this episode? Did I not like this episode? I liked it. Didn't love it necessarily, but I did like it. Definitely more than the first one. Not by a lot, though. It definitely fixed a couple of my issues with the first one. I wouldn't say fixed, but at least made those issues I had with the first episode not as big of a deal. But I still think I'm not a fan of what they did with Negan not saving Maggie at the end of last episode. I still think that was weird for Negan's character. I think, like I said, what they did in this episode with it kind of makes it not as bad. But like I said, I still wish they just didn't even do that in the first place. And we'll go in depth with all that stuff in the spoilers section, because obviously I don't want to talk about it too much here. The episode has nice pacing to it in terms of what it progresses. It kind of just felt like it was part of last episode. Obviously, that's why it's a two-parter, because it's basically just one giant story, and they're basically split in two. You have the stuff going on in the subway, and then the stuff going on at the Commonwealth outpost with Ezekiel, Eugene, Yamako, and a princess, and them trying to talk to these people, learn more about them, and try to go through this process, or whatever you call it. And the episode does do a nice job of trying to wrap a lot of that stuff up, which is good, because, you know, I don't want to see these stories go on for too long. There's a certain point where they feel a little dragged out, and I think it's good that it kind of wraps up here. There's a lot of great dialogue in this episode, a lot of amazing character moments. The action was really well done, really well shot, as it usually is, but in this episode in particular, they had a really good opportunity to do some cool stuff with the close quarter Walker combat, because obviously like in this subway cart, so there's going to be a lot of close quarters Walker action, and it was really well done, really well shot, really cool stuff, and I definitely applaud them for actually showing us Walker action instead of skipping over it like they usually do in other seasons. Like season 10, they did that the most. The amount of times they skipped over Walker action in season 10 was just ridiculous. I'm just like, bro, I want to see Walkers getting killed, man. But this episode shows a lot of it, and it's really well done. Like I said, again, I'm really glad they moved to digital, because the shots just look so much cleaner, so much better than they ever had before. So I loved all that. And it do some clever stuff with Yamako here, with her being a lawyer, of course, and her trying to kind of make almost a deal with Commonwealth, being like, okay, you obviously need me because of, you know, me having these lawyer skills, and she's trying to obviously get into Commonwealth because she wants to see her brother. I thought it was her sister. I just assumed it was a sister, but we know it was a sibling, but it was actually a brother. And so we're gonna see how that plays out eventually. And there's some really dark stuff that happens in this episode. Like, it is a dark episode. A couple of different scenes here, other than just a couple of different character stories, but also stuff that actually happens in the episode is pretty dark. Like, there's some dark stuff there, and I really do like that. I really like going in that direction. I think The Walking Dead needs to be darker. I think it's one of the best parts about the show, so I really like when they utilize that. So if I was to give this episode a rating out of 10, I'm going to give it a 7.9 out of 10. That might sound so random, but like, I think it's better than last one, which I gave a 7.5, but not quite in the 8 out of 10 range just yet. And there's a few reasons why. A couple of scenes I do feel like dragged on a little bit. I do feel like there's some scenes, especially in the beginning, where it's like, does that scene really need to be that long? And I'll talk in depth as to what that is when we get into the spoiler section. And also, again, with what they did with Negan last episode, it kind of carries over into this one a little bit. Me thinking they could have there's so many missed opportunities I feel like they're having with Negan's character, and I kind of wish they took advantage of it a little bit more, but instead they're making it kind of weird. But I do like at the same time how some of the characters have some complexity to them. That finishes it with the non-spoilers. Let's jump into spoilers. So the episode begins, obviously, Maggie surviving. Really well done scene there, of course. And then we get into probably the most boring part of the episode for me. There was this like minute or two long sequence of Daryl just looking around that subway area. I don't see the point of that. I know what it was trying to do. The stuff on the wall was clearly metaphors to the Commonwealth, I could tell, especially with him finding the $100 bill. It's the whole currency thing, and the fact that the person using it was using it as a note because money doesn't mean anything anymore. But obviously in the Commonwealth, it's gonna mean something. That's the whole point of that. But why does it have to be like 2 minutes long of Daryl just looking around? You know, that was one scene that I felt like was a little bit just too drawn out. That was my only issue with that. And then we get into the characters discussing Negan's thing. And again, like I said last episode, I still have an issue with that because I don't believe that Negan would do that for any reason, regardless of if he was doing it for being nice or doing it to save his own ass. Because he says here, oh, he's trying to get on their good side, he's trying. But like, you clearly weren't trying if you were going to let her die there. You know, that's not going to make them like you, because obviously they're going to assume that something happened there, if someone's gonna catch on, or even if they don't, what if she doesn't die? In which that's what happened, and then she came back, and then they had conflict, and then Negan made the argument that like, oh, I didn't try to kill you, I just didn't save you. That's just not a good argument, in my opinion. It's like, okay, bro, you weren't putting yourself at risk. And then they try to do this thing, which I really liked, this particular scene with Gage being behind the door, and then Maggie and a couple others, especially Gabriel, being like, yeah, we can't save you, we're sorry, letting the walkers come in and get him. They did that because it was clearly being a parallel to Negan not saving Maggie. This is Maggie not saving Gage. But that's a completely different situation. This is where Gage, I guess trying to save him would put them at risk, but even then I don't believe it would put them at risk, because they end up clearing out the walkers, not easily, but they end up clearing out the walkers anyways. So I feel like they could have saved him and then cleared out the walkers. I don't think it would be that hard for them to clear out the walkers, to be honest. They were funneling in the subway. They could have taken them out one by one. They don't even need ammo for it. Honestly, they could be using melee weapons. They probably would have done just fine. Is it risky? Yes, definitely more. But my point is, it's more risky than what Negan would have done with Maggie. Negan could have easily grabbed Maggie's hand and pull her up. She's not that heavy. Negan's pretty strong. I'm sure she could have, or I'm sure he could have done that. So that parallel, it was cool. It was a cool scene. It was a dark scene, and it really shows the darker side of Maggie and Gabriel, really. And it shows that Alden was kind of just pissed because he's like, bro, we could have saved him. And then Maggie goes on about the story about way worse ways to die, because Gage's death, I mean, it was pretty fucked up, but he did stab himself before the walkers could get to him. But I don't know if they even killed him necessarily, because he was still kind of like somewhat alive while the walkers were biting into him. But he might have been dead. I don't know. If he got the heart perfectly, he probably would have been dead within a couple seconds. So I'm not sure. But like I said, that scene was still really well done. Regardless, I like the dark stuff there for sure. And then we get into, let's talk about some of the Commonwealth stuff now. Like I said, I really like what they're doing with Yamako here, with her trying to utilize her lawyer skills. And she also said that her brother was a thoracic surgeon, which is really interesting. And at first I had no idea what that even was. I'm sorry, I haven't taken a anatomy and physiology class, but I was like, wait, did she say a surgeon? Like, I just thought a regular surgeon. I was like, oh, maybe he could do something about the cancer with Ezekiel, but a spine surgeon, I don't think has anything to do with that. So I don't think that matters. But it could be important, because we do know that the Commonwealth takes into account your prior job and also takes into account your skills. And it's like they have like a class system almost, which is going to cause some conflict for sure between some of the characters. But that's interesting, because that means they're going to be of a higher class. And she's a lawyer as well. I feel like she's also going to be of a higher class. But then characters like Princess, who doesn't seem to have had a great, I mean, what did she say her job was before? Oh, she worked at a music store. So they're probably not going to give her anything crazy. She's probably going to be getting a, lesser, not as good of a house, I guess, which will be interesting to see how the characters react to that system. I'm very curious. And then they had the scene with Eugene later on, which Eugene, a good way for, I believe the actor's Josh McDermott, a good way for him to show off some of his acting skills a little bit with that little speech he had, saying that he was lying and he never said anything about Stephanie. And I was always under the impression that maybe they knew about the settlement, maybe someone else said something, but no, it seems like Eugene was able to just simply say, oh yeah, by the way, I was lying about that settlement, and but I was also lying about not talking to Stephanie at all. And then we see Stephanie at the end of the episode, and I was kind of confused because I thought they announced Stephanie, like the actress who plays Stephanie, last season or something, and didn't look anything like this Stephanie. So either they recasted her or this is like a decoy of some sort, which I don't know why they would use a decoy Stephanie. I don't know what the purpose of Commonwealth doing that would be, unless Stephanie had some higher power in the society and maybe they didn't want to put her there. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know if they recast it. I have no idea. But still, looked nothing like the one that we saw. Unless the one that we saw them announce last season was wrong? They just announced the wrong person? I don't know. Besides the point, interested to see their conversations and how that all plays out, assuming that's the real Stephanie. Again, I don't know. And then we get, obviously, some really good walker action on the subway, because the walkers break in anyways, and then they break in through the other way. And we get a good utilization of some cool camera shots. You get, you know, a couple scenes with people using guns. You have Gabriel shooting them up with AK-47 in one scene. He uses a shotgun as well. And, you know, Maggie uses her bow. You got Daryl coming with the crossbow, or with his knives, actually. He was using his knives. I think he put down the crossbow, because what the hell's the crossbow going to do against a whole bunch of walkers like that? And you also get Negan, a couple scenes with Negan here and there. Just a good utilization of these characters. So I definitely enjoyed that scene. I still think they should have given Negan a scene here, because they have to. They kind of set Negan's character back a little bit in terms of his redemption because of what happened. So I feel like they needed to give him something to push that redemption up a little bit. And I thought what would have done that, and what would have worked perfectly, is if, I don't know how, but somehow he could have saved Gage, or at least tried or something, maybe even successfully do it, and it would see like a different side to him, and characters there who were very much mad at Maggie for just letting him die would have been like, oh, well, at least Negan stepped up and did something. Because right now at this point, what character would be on Negan's side? Nobody. He was just gonna let Maggie die, you know what I mean? So I feel like they had missed opportunity there where they could have utilized Negan to do something good. Maybe even in this later scene with the walker action, maybe they could have had him step up and do something. Maggie did give him the gun in that one scene. He did kind of go against the one walkers that were coming from the back, but there wasn't necessarily like a standout scene with him where he was necessarily saving someone or putting his life on the line for someone. Again, would he do that? I don't know. But I just feel like they need to do something with his character, because otherwise I don't believe that they would want anything to do with him, especially after letting Maggie die, or at least letting her die. You know, obviously she didn't die because she's fucking Maggie, but still, I feel like there's a little bit more they could have done there. And then we get to the end of the episode, which was probably one of my favorite parts, just because I like scenes like this. I don't know, there's something about those really surprising, shocking deaths that just kind of, they're fun. I don't know, it's like, it reminds me of season 3 episode 10 with Axel getting shot out of nowhere. You had the one older dude, I don't know the guy's name, they didn't really, I don't know if they specified it, they probably did, I just don't remember, getting just murked in the head with the bow and arrow out of absolutely nowhere as they're just walking down the road. And obviously that is the Reapers attacking, and the really cool scene that they had before that with them looking off into this like really long road of just bodies hanging. That is some dark stuff, and I really like that. I do think this would have been even better, and this episode probably would have gone up if they at least gave us like a 5-minute battle at the end of the episode here, but I'm okay with waiting a week. Next episode we'll have probably a really awesome scene in the beginning. Hopefully it's well shot, well directed, well edited, because action, at least in season 10, was not my favorite. I feel like a lot of the action in season 10 was cut back. A lot of the budget just didn't seem big enough to give us some crazy awesome action sequences, except for like 1 or 2 scenes here and there, especially after them completely forgetting about, I'm not forgetting about, but just completely ignoring Negan versus Beta and just not doing it at all. I'm still pissed about that. But I kind of hope that they at least give us some good scenes here, give us some actual good action that is intense and that lasts a long time and that's gruesome and brutal and not just like boring. You know what I mean? I want to see some good stuff here. Hopefully it's really, really solid. Hopefully we see Commonwealth as well. That would be awesome. And yeah, hopefully you all enjoyed. I will see you guys in the next one. Let me know what you think about this episode in the comment section below. Peace out.